Welcome to the HBCU Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Kenn Rashad, where we cover all things HBCU athletics, good, bad, or indifferent. Today, we are going to talk about ESPN because ESPN is tripping. In case you haven't heard, last week ESPN announced that they are moving the date of the Celebration Bowl. And that in and of itself is a huge mistake. And I'm going to tell you why. But first, in case you haven't noticed, we've got new merch over in the HBCU Sports Shop. Yes. Visit shop.hbcusports.com and buy some stuff. Now, my good friend, Diane, I'm not going to tell you her last name. She reached out to me and she said, you know what? I'm tired of all of that blue. I don't have time. I don't want to be blind into that blue because, here at HBCU Sports, we are all about the navy and the royal blue. I mean, after all, it is our official. Those are our official colors. But she reached out to me. She was like, "Look, I'd buy some more stuff, but you need to, you need to put some with my school colors out there." So I said, "Okay, we're gonna do that." And you know what? We've done that. So we've got HBCU merchandise now. We've got it in blue. We've got it in green. We've got it in maroon. There you go, Diane. There's your maroon. We've got it in all kinds of colors. We got navy. We've got orange for you snakes, and even you folks up there at Lincoln University of Pennsylvania. We got all the colors. We even got pink because my wife, she's a AK and you need to get something in pink. So you know what? We got something in pink and we got colors for all the other D9. So look, go to shop.hbcusports.com. Support the effort. We're trying to do big things here. And look, you have the opportunity to support us as well as to represent your school or your fraternity or your sorority. Yes, there is crimson for all you noobs out there. Anyway, okay, so let's get back to the subject. So last week, ESPN announced that they are going to move the date of the Celebration Bowl. And I say it's a mistake for one primary reason. And just more details, last week the Celebration Bowl announced that the game will be played on December 14th, which is the second Saturday in December. Previously, the Celebration Bowl was played the third Saturday in December. Now, the reason why it's significant and the reasoning behind it is related to the new college football playoffs and the fact that now that they've got more teams in the playoffs, and of course, they're going to need more time and dates and so forth. And we get it. That is Power 5 schools. It's a big deal. And I certainly understand the challenges associated with that. But ESPN dropped the ball with respect to the Celebration Bowl for one primary reason. And this has kind of been one of those sticking points that has, it's been no secret with respect to the SWAC and the MEAC. Now, it's no surprise that pretty much since the Celebration Bowl started, the MEAC has, historically speaking, always had much more time to prepare for this game. And of the 8 Celebration Bowls played in the past, the MEAC has won 6 of them. Even SWAC Commissioner Charles McClellan said himself, and I think we got that. Let me see if we can pull that up. He even indicated in a previous article that we wrote, and he provided, it wasn't an excuse, but he did indicate that, the MEAC has somewhat of a more time to prepare. And I'm quoting here. This was when? This was from July 25th, last summer. And he indicated, quote, "Our not being able to win the Celebration Bowl is the product of our regular season. There are no weeks off. You can't look ahead. You can't study who that MEAC winner was because you have to concentrate on the next week, the conference championship game. Then you concentrate on the Celebration Bowl." And we get that. And so for those of us, I'm a SWAC guy. I don't hide it. You know, I support all HBCUs, but I'm a product of a SWAC university. And whenever these two teams compete, I tend to be a little more, you know, especially if my school isn't in it, I tend to go for the SWAC team. I'm not going to hide it. You know, I go there and I'll cover it, and I do it neutrally. But, you know, deep down inside, yeah, I'm kind of rooting for the SWAC team to win. As is the case with most of the SWAC fans who are, you know, whose schools are with that conference. And I'm guessing the same pretty much applies with individuals who are with the MEAC. And that's understandable. Okay. But for those of us in the SWAC, we've pretty much accepted the fact that, okay, this is the way it is. But previously, after the Celebration Bowl, after the SWAC championship game, the SWAC representative had an off week, basically 2 weeks before they were to play that Celebration Bowl. And that's huge in and of itself for a number of reasons. Now, granted, the MEAC, you know, I think at some point would have anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks to prepare for that game. And that's fine when you put in consideration that there are a lot of, there are some traditional issues associated with some of the SWAC teams, as well as the SWAC championship game in and of itself, being a game that has been in existence before the Celebration Bowl even started. So we weren't going to mess that up, especially in consideration the money that's involved. And with respect to Alabama State, Turkey Day Classic, that game is played on Thanksgiving Day. And then, of course, Grambling and Southern in the Bayou Classic, that game is played Thanksgiving weekend. And in many instances, there have been times where the Celebration Bowl, the Bayou Classic has been a game that would decide who the SWAC representative would be in the Celebration Bowl, or at the very least in the SWAC championship game. And then, of course, the SWAC championship game was played the following week, and the winner of the SWAC championship game would be the SWAC representative in the Celebration Bowl. All right. So put all that into consideration. Now that the game has been moved, the Celebration Bowl has been moved to the second week in December. Now that, for all intents and purposes, it literally wipes out any prep time for the SWAC team to prepare for the Celebration Bowl. So let's put some things in perspective first and foremost about the Celebration Bowl that many of you may not be aware. So the Celebration Bowl is owned by ESPN Events, which is a subsidiary of ESPN. Okay. And I don't want to diminish this, but the ESPN Events owns a number in all sports, but primarily in football here. You will see that ESPN owns a number of events that they own, and they will typically invite schools to participate, to basically become partners in these events, in which obviously they would compensate them. And for ESPN, this is all about creating content for their platforms. So as you can see, we've got the FCS kickoff. That's a preseason game. The MEAC SWAC Challenge. Yes, in case you guys didn't know, the Celebration Bowl as well as the MEAC SWAC Challenge is owned by ESPN. You got the Vegas Kickoff Classic, the New Mexico Bowl, the Hawaii Bowl, the Cricket Celebration Bowl, the Camilla Bowl, the Boca Raton Bowl, and on and on and on. The Myrtle Beach Bowl, the Idaho Potato Bowl, the Birmingham Bowl, Armed Forces Bowl. Yes, these are the Texas Bowls. All of these events are owned by ESPN Events for the sole and specific purpose of creating content for the platforms. So why is this so important, and what is the big deal associated with doing this? Well, here's the reason why, and I explained this briefly before. It's going to be history in the making. We're attempting to do something that's never been done before in this space. It's the HBCU Sports Awards, streaming live July 27th. When I announced that we were going to host the inaugural HBCU Sports Awards a couple of weeks ago, you guys were overwhelmingly supportive. You sent congratulatory wishes and even asked, how could you help us out? Well, now I'm about to tell you. To my family, friends, and everyone else who supports HBCUs. Let me repeat that. To my family, friends, and everyone else who supports HBCUs, we need your financial support. This is truly a grassroots effort and a chance for all of us to come together as a community to honor the incredible student athletes, coaches, and administrators who make HBCU athletics so special. Your financial gift will help us organize an event that ensures these individuals receive the recognition they deserve. We will award the football players, men's and women's basketball players, and coaches of the year in various sports. We'll also recognize athletic directors and conference commissioners and even announce the coveted athletic program of the year, just to name a few. Visit HBCUSportsAwards.com to donate. Every donation, big or small, makes a difference. And to show you our appreciation, we're going to acknowledge all of our donors, every single one, on the donor wall of the website and in our digital event program. Those of you who donate this year will forever be known as our charter donors. Every year, you will be acknowledged for your giving, setting the legacy for years to come. We will always honor you. Folks, this is your chance to be a part of something truly groundbreaking. If there were ever a time to say that something is for us, by us, this is it. Join us in making history by celebrating HBCU athletic achievement. Visit HBCUSportsAwards.com and donate today. The MEAC doesn't have a championship game. And given where they are right now with the fact that they are really limited on the number of football teams that they have in the conference, well, once a winner is determined, and just so you guys who may not be aware, contractually speaking, the MEAC and the SWAC are contractually obligated to send their best teams to the Celebration Bowl. The playoff is not an option. They can send teams to the playoff, but it's not going to be the best team. And we've seen that several times happen with the MEAC, in which they'd send their best team to the Celebration Bowl, and then, of course, they would have a representative playing in the FCS playoffs, which, for those of you who don't know, it doesn't make any money, okay? All right. So the MEAC has had all of this time to prepare for the Celebration Bowl. And Charles McClellan himself, as we just showed you, has indicated that that may be one of the reasons. He's not using it as an excuse, but he's just simply stating facts that the MEAC has had more time to prepare for the Celebration Bowl. But now with this move, all bets are off, because here is what we're looking at now, especially as it relates to Alabama State, Grambling, and Southern. All right. By the Celebration Bowl moving from the third week to the second week, you now have a situation in which, depending on how this season goes, and let's just, for all intents and purposes, let's just say that Alabama State, Southern, and Grambling are in the running to participate, whatever the scenarios may be. Now, granted, Alabama State is in the East, Grambling and Southern's is in the West, and so forth. And those individual games played on that weekend has no impact. Okay. Whereas the rest of the SWAC schools, for the most part, are already done with their regular season. They're just simply waiting to see the outcome of these games to see if they're going to be impacted in any way in terms of possibly getting a berth in the SWAC championship game. And we've seen this happen before with Grambling and the Southern, as I stated. Okay. So let's just say Grambling and the Southern, one of those teams win the Bayou Classic, and they compete in the SWAC championship game representing the West. And they're going to play whoever the East opponent is from the SWAC East division. Whoever obviously wins the SWAC championship game represents the SWAC, and they compete in the Celebration Bowl. Previously, they had 2 weeks to prepare for that game. And 2 weeks, while it may not necessarily be a long time, but still, when you put in consideration the championship implications, and this is what I want to focus on real quick here, because while this game may very well be owned by ESPN events, make no mistake about it, the Celebration Bowl, for all intents and purposes, and all of these other games, the Celebration Bowl is just nothing but a blip on the radar for ESPN. They make money off of it. But when you put in consideration all of the other events that they host, the Celebration Bowl, I don't know what dollar amount is invested into a Celebration Bowl, but I'm willing to bet almost anything from just a payout alone. It's not going to be anything compared to some of these other events that feature FBS or even Power 5 opponents. So it may not mean a whole lot to ESPN other than the fact that they're just simply leveraging the game to create content for the platform. However, for the teams and the conferences involved over the years, this is, I think, coming up, this will be the 9th iteration of the Celebration Bowl in December of 2024. The game has evolved to essentially becoming, for all intents and purposes, the game of the year. But basically, at that time, it is the biggest game of the year because it's gotten to the point to where, depending on the coaches, it could potentially result in a bonus if you win the game or not. It could potentially result in a contract extension if you win the game or not. And if for whatever reason, depending on how things are going, even though some may say, how could you possibly be fired for not winning the Celebration Bowl? We have no idea. You never know. There is a lot riding for these coaches when they get to an opportunity to play in the Celebration Bowl. A lot financially. It could be a career booster. Maybe it's an opportunity to be considered for a head coaching job someplace else. And I'm not saying that ESPN doesn't care, but there was one primary thing that really stuck out to me about this. And I made this comment on the message board, which, by the way, you guys, when you get a chance, you ought to go to the HBCU Sports Forum. Those are some of the smartest people you will ever come across. And these are SWAC fans. These brothers and sisters, I'm telling you, they are smart and insiders. They know about their respective schools and so forth. So when you get a chance, go to the forums at HBCU Sports. But anyway, because the SWAC now it literally has no time to prepare for this, as far as I'm concerned, this becomes an issue of player safety. You've gone the entire season. Now, granted, you got a bye week or two during the course of the season. And so now the season comes to an end. You were in a fortunate situation to where you were able to win the SWAC championship game, which again was been around before the Celebration Bowl. And now you have finally earned an opportunity to earn, which for all intents and purposes is a mythical HBCU national championship. This is a big deal. It really is. It means a lot to the conferences, which, each conference receives over $1 million. And the lion's share of that goes to the schools who compete in it. So it is a big deal. And it's the only FCS bowl game currently that takes place during the bowl season. By the way, let's before I go deeper in it, I want to read a quote that ESPN published. And this is from a story we wrote. This was with the announcement last week on June 6th. And this is a quote from John Grant. He said, "The decision to move the Cricket Celebration Bowl to the second Saturday in December is truly a game changer. By aligning the start of the college football bowl season and avoiding the expansion games of the college football playoffs and NFL, the Celebration Bowl has carved its own niche in the bowl season calendar." Now, look, I've had a chance to meet John Grant. John Grant is a good guy, and look, he's the executive director, but ultimately it's ESPN that calls the shots here. To say that this is a game changer, you're right, John. It is a game changer, but this is not a game changer for the good. This is a game changer for all the wrong reasons. The SWAC literally has no preparation time to prepare for this game, and I think somewhere along the line, the people at ESPN, and even you, John Grant, I think you guys didn't bother to put this into consideration, because I'm telling you right now, and I guarantee you, for every single bowl game that is on the slate, from the time the bowl season starts until the time the college football playoff championship is crowned, I'm willing to bet you almost anything that the SWAC representative in the Celebration Bowl will be the only team that participated in the bowl that had to play the prior week before the bowl game was played. On that same date, ESPN has the Camilla Bowl. I believe that's another ESPN event. That the Camilla Bowl that's going to feature the teams between the Sun Belt and the MAC. Now, far as I know, I think there's a Sun Belt championship game. I know there's a MAC championship game that's pretty much played all every year in Detroit. I'm willing to bet you anything that Camilla Bowl isn't going to feature a team that is the conference the conference champion I'm just guessing. I don't know what the requirements are associated with that game, but I'm willing to bet you almost anything that those two teams will likely be teams that didn't necessarily get a chance to play for a conference title, but probably were just simply bowl eligible, which again is an opportunity for ESPN to just simply get their chance to get two teams in an event that they created for the purpose of content to be broadcasted on their platforms and obviously to get some sort of a return on the investment. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm willing to bet you anything that those teams with the Sun Belt and the MAC, when they play on December 14th, I'm pretty certain that neither one of them would have had to play a game on December 7th the week before, unlike the SWAC representative is going to have to do. That, to me, is a concern. That's a big problem. And I think for that reason and that reason only, ESPN dropped the ball. Some may be saying, well, Ken, we'll look at the FCS championship, or the FCS playoffs. Yes, it's a continuous process. Even though there is typically a bye week for the higher seeded teams, they play pretty much week in and week out until they get to the semifinals. But check this out, and you guys know this. But even when they get to the FCS championship game in Frisco, they typically get something like a 2 to 3 week break. So they literally have time to prepare for what for them is going to be the biggest game of the year, a year that has potential to boost contract extensions. Coaches could be considered for future jobs and so forth. All of that matters. I guarantee you the college football playoff at the Power 5 level, I guarantee you anything, they're going to have plenty of lead time. So if there, for whatever reason, is a player who may be, who's got some nicks and bruises or whatever the case may be, that 2 to 3 week layoff may very well be beneficial for the team and literally gives that team or that coach the opportunity to put his team in the best position to win. But we aren't going to be able to say that about the SWAC representative playing in the Celebration Bowl after they've had to play in the SWAC championship game the week before. Again, no other bowl game or championship game will feature two teams who played the week before. I'm almost willing to guarantee that. When it's all said and done, that's what literally is going to happen here. ESPN dropped the ball. And I understand and respect the fact that this is all about making profits. I understand and respect the fact that you just want to make sure that you focus on the bottom line. But in this particular instance, you overlooked player safety. I'm Kenn Rashad. This is HBCU Sports Podcast. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time. God bless you.